No gimmicks, just good honest deals like we've done for over 60 years. So don't make the same mistake Jessica did. For your next vehicle, come see us in Blanchard, give us a call at 405-485-3333, or check us out on the web at knippelmeyer.com. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
This is Peggy Doviak, and I opened DM Wealth Management because of a horrible experience that my mother had with a stockbroker. I wanted to give people an alternative, a place they could go to understand their money, to know why investment decisions were made the way they were, and to create a financial plan that would help them meet their goals. Most of all, I wanted to help them plan their prosperity. Call me at 405-329-8884 or dmwealth.com.
In the age of internet and all things fast-moving, it's hard to find people you can trust. When it comes to your home or business electrical systems, don't settle for anything but the best. Wade Electric has been serving Oklahoma since 1969 and will gladly address your electrical needs with diligence and professionalism. They specialize in service upgrades, exterior and accent lighting, power automation and controls, shop and outbuilding wiring, LED conversions, and more. Go with a name you can trust and call Wade Electric today at 405-329-1940.
This is Toby Rowland. Did you know that more than 80 million people depend on AM radio each month for news, weather, and emergency information? A new bill in Congress would make sure AM radio remains in cars because when cell and internet services go down, this far-reaching free service may be your only lifeline. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress to support the AM.
Fan. Crafted for SEC competition. Every OU fan should own a piece of Sooner Magic. Made in America, like it should be. Get your official on-field OU football today.
Hey Sooner Nation, join me Mondays at 7:45 a.m. and Thursdays at 4:45 p.m. exclusively on the Ref. Download the KREF app to listen from anywhere.
Now, with Locked In, here's Tyler McComas and Parker Thune.
Oh, it's a football Friday on the Ref. Gotta love it. 6:45 tomorrow night. It's going to be OU and Houston, and yeah, the position group that we've been talking about ad nauseum all week long, offensive line, is, again, the number one thing that people are probably going to be paying most attention to. That may have even been the case last week going into the first game of the season, with that being most people's or probably pretty much everyone's biggest question mark going in. Can you remember a week, Parker Thune, where we've talked about the offensive line at OU as much as we have this week? If they're any good, what the rotation might look like, who's going to be available. I feel like we've talked about the offensive lines, like, seriously, every single way that we can.
There's not a whole lot else to talk about after a Week 1 victory that was otherwise just about as workmanlike as it could have been outside of concerns about the offensive line, because you look at anything that could have been improved upon in that Week 1 performance, you can find a way to tie it back to the offensive line, right? So for most fans, in most fans' minds, the root of all of Oklahoma's problems, at least the ones that we know about right now, is the offensive line.
Yeah, well, I think defensively they're solid. I think they'll continue to be really good here moving forward. And like I've said a few times, it's that defensive performance against Temple was big time. I know it was against Temple, but just wait until this defense starts throwing out different fronts and different personnel groups and just different things that we haven't seen yet and different things that we might not see until the Tennessee game coming up here in 15 days now. Isn't that crazy? First SEC game all of a sudden coming up in 15 days. And I would guess the way that it looks now, we'll see how things shape up for the Alabama weekend. But just to throw some recruiting in here in the first segment, as it looks right now, I mean, Tennessee is going to have it's going to be a fantastic opportunity for that to be your biggest recruiting weekend of the entire year.
There's a very good chance. And keep in mind, Oklahoma gets to host recruits for the Red River Showdown this year. So you'd expect that to be a huge weekend as well. But there's going to be so much pomp and circumstance around that Tennessee game, and there are already so many confirmed big-time visitors that are going to be in town for that OU-Tennessee game, which, by the way, shameless plug, all of that intel is available to you at OUinsider.com with a subscription. But, yeah, I would expect, Tyler, that if that isn't the biggest recruiting weekend of the season for Oklahoma, it's a close second to OU Texas. And right now, I might even project that OU Tennessee is going to be bigger than OU Texas, and that in that regard alone.
Yeah, no, I'd say big weekend. They got to get through Houston, got to get through Tulane, even coming up next week as well. But all of a sudden, you kind of look at the schedule and say, ooh, that OU Tennessee game is fast approaching. Well, on the subject of recruiting, we know that, man, Christian Jones is going to be in Lincoln this week. This is a massive, massive weekend for Nebraska recruiting and just kind of the Nebraska football program overall for momentum. This is a huge recruiting weekend for Nebraska. They got a ton of visitors in town. We'll talk if Cortez Mills is going to be there or not. But on the subject of Christian Jones and Andrew Babalola and Elijah Melendez, I think that you'll understand when I ask this. In some ways, you might even projecting a certain final score that happens tomorrow across college football. But who is off the board a week from today? So the Friday before OU heads into the Tulane game, out of Christian Jones, out of Andrew Babalola, and out of Elijah Melendez, the three players who are, really top 100 players on your recruiting board, how many of those guys will be off the board 1 week from today?
I mean, Babalola feels like the guy that's the closest. So if I had to pick one, I would probably go with him. But even in his case, man, it has felt imminent for weeks now, and nothing has happened. So I don't know. Now, I think Christian Jones and Elijah Melendez are both off the board reasonably soon. Probably before the month of September is over. But the guy that I would expect to be first of the three to commit is probably Babalola.
Yeah, it sure feels that way. But if Nebraska has a big win tomorrow, they get all that momentum. And Christian Jones, you know how it happens at times when the hype goes crazy. Maybe he goes ahead and say, let's just do this, and picks the Huskers. But feels like OU may be running second right now on Christian Jones, Andrew Babalola, and Elijah Melendez. And I think the longer each of those recruiting, each of those go without anyone committing, probably the better it's going to be for OU. And like we said this week, if you can just get one out of the three, and it doesn't matter which one, Jones, Babalola, or Melendez, that's really going to add to an already outstanding recruiting class because you'd be getting another top 100 player in your class. What's the latest on Cortez Mills? We've had to update everyone every single day on this one. It was reported early in the week he'll make it to Lincoln. Is it expected that the number 69 overall player, at least he was at one point, according to Rivals, four-star wide receiver Cortez Mills, will he be in Lincoln tomorrow for the CU-Nebraska game?
Will he be in Lincoln? I can't tell you definitively one way or another. But what I can tell you is that if he is in Lincoln, as I kind of hinted yesterday, that doesn't really line up with the conversations he's had with the Oklahoma staff this week. So if he does show up in Lincoln, I think you can pretty well expect that there are going to be ramifications there.
Yeah, like we said, if one thing to take the visit, it's another thing to take the visit when you tell the staff that you're not going to take the visit. That's probably not going to end up all that well. Travis from California says, you guys know anyone selling reasonably priced tickets to that Tennessee game? Good Lord. Travis, I do not know anyone selling reasonably priced OU Tennessee tickets. There are OU Tennessee tickets for sale on the secondary markets, but that good Lord indicates to me that you see how insane the prices are for OU's first SEC game ever. And I don't think that that's too surprising. Maybe the prices on that go down in a couple of weeks, the week of the game. Probably not, though. A lot of Tennessee fans will make that trip. A ton of OU fans obviously want to be here for the first SEC game. That's probably going to be your most expensive ticket around here since, what, maybe the Notre Dame game in 2012? I mean, it's going to be insane, dude.
And with inflation factored in, might this be the most expensive ticket ever?
Maybe. OU Nebraska 2000 was pretty expensive. Like I'll just look at it now on one of the secondary ticket markets. I'll find the cheapest seats available in section 21. $271 each is what they're going for right now. But here's the problem. Even at $271 each, after the fees happen, you're probably looking at north of $300 for a ticket to that OU Tennessee game. So, and maybe the OU Alabama tickets, if they both have a lot on the line in November, once that game rolls around, it could be just as expensive, if not more expensive. But this OU Tennessee game, easily the most expensive ticket that we've seen in quite some time. 405 says
listener in the 405.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, I think we're about to read the same text. This listener said it's funny because the tickets for the LSU game in Baton Rouge is only $70 a person. That's why I'm going to that game.
100,000 seats there. A little bit, some more options there in Tiger Stadium. I've been looking at Auburn, Ole Miss, and even Mizzou tickets. They are not $70 a piece. So the 4 true road games OU has in the SEC right now, LSU is actually the cheapest on the market right now, which is interesting. One-star recruiting boomer says, "Can someone please answer my question? What was Drum talking about Marcus James for?" You were on that segment, so I don't know.
I think he was just talking about the fact that Marcus James is right now the only linebacker committed to Oklahoma in the 2025 class. I don't recall. It was nothing. The conversation surrounding Marcus James, I don't think had anything to do with Marcus James' recruitment or the status of his commitment or anything. I think it was just a passing remark about Marcus James as a player and the reality that he is the only linebacker committed to OU in the 25 class right now.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do at linebacker, if anything, in the 25 class, right? If they don't, if they get Christian Jones or Elijah Melendez, then they're done there, and that could very well impact what they do or what they don't do in the transfer portal in the winter cycle. But if you don't get Melendez, if he goes to Auburn, if you don't get Christian Jones, he goes to Nebraska, do you circle back around with someone who's committed in the 2025 class? Or do you just kind of wait your turn when it comes to the transfer portal, not knowing for sure what's going to be available? I heard Brandon say that maybe you just kind of wait around for the transfer portal, and I could certainly see that being the case, seeing as OU would like to add another body after Stutzman leaves this year. You'd like to add another body at linebacker, but again, with what you have and what you think you have coming back next year, it's not like you just have to have another body at linebacker or you're in big trouble. But they'll add one way or the other via the 25 class or the transfer portal, but they're still going to be in a good spot at linebacker, I think, even next year.
Yeah, they have great depth in that position group, and I think it was kind of by design that at the very outset, Brent Venables and the Oklahoma staff kind of added a surplus at linebacker. They took 4 backers in the 2023 class. They didn't need to take 4, but taking 4 and taking 4 guys that they were confident could play high-level ball and would develop at the University of Oklahoma allowed them to ease off the gas a little bit in these next couple classes and really hone in on a few select guys that they feel like can be all-conference type dudes. They see that potential in Elijah Melendez. They see that potential in Christian Jones. They certainly saw that potential in Marcus James when they offered and pursued him. And so landing 4 really, really talented linebackers back in that 2023 class has allowed OU to be a little bit more selective with how they recruit that position in the couple of ensuing classes that we've seen since.
Tattoo Baker has sent me a DM. He found those same tickets that I found, or maybe it was on another site. Anyway, 2 tickets together after you get through with the fees on the secondary markets, $954 for the pair. Just short of $1,000 for 2 tickets to the OU Tennessee game. Oh my gosh, man. If you don't have season tickets or you don't have tickets to that game and you're trying to get in, good luck. I hope you know someone that'll sell you tickets for face value, or you don't have to pay the fees on the secondary market. Man, that is insane. Florida Sooner said, "I would be surprised if they added a linebacker in the portal in December. that would start over who is returning. Shocked. So I think they're saying, I'd be surprised if they added a linebacker in the portal that would start over who is returning next year. Because, Lewis Carter, Kobe McKenzie, Kip Lewis. I mean, just those three right there, if you start, it's a pretty good trio for 2025.
So you're adding another Connor Neer, basically, if you go to the portal.
Maybe.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, maybe so. Greg in Muskogee says, yeah, but is that going to be feasible with the complexity of the style defense that is ran by Oklahoma by going out and getting a transfer linebacker? I mean, I think that your defense, sure, I mean, there's a lot there. I don't think it's the only defense in America where, I mean, there's a lot to learn. But I think you can still go out and get a transfer portal player at linebacker, but is it most likely that their two starters for next year are on the roster already? I would probably think so. Yeah, I would probably think yes to that. That would probably be the case. Kobe McKenzie had a really nice play on Friday. I mean, Kip Lewis is a starter right now. I think we all like the upside of Lewis Carter. Even without Danny Stutzman, I think that they're going to be in a very good spot at linebacker next year and beyond as well, not just this year. Booby Feaster is probably the most notable visitor that will be in town on Friday. He is a really, really good player in the 2027 class, but his name is Booby Feaster. So Barstool and a lot of other publications have been all over that this week. And I know that he goes to a high school that OU traditionally hasn't had a ton of success in. That's A&M or Texas, a feeder school essentially. But this is almost like a choose-your-best-fighter situation. If anyone's going to go down there and do it, wouldn't you think it's Emmett Jones that would go get a player from a school that OU traditionally has had some rough luck in? It'd probably be him.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm not disavowing the notion that Oklahoma could make a serious run at a guy like Booby Feaster, because if you're going to give somebody a fighter's chance to make something happen, certainly it's Emmett Jones.
Yeah, I think if anyone can, he can. He's been on a heater now for a few years, and it doesn't feel like he's slowing down anytime soon, that's for sure. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Where's Parker Thune at on a football Friday?
Yeah, I'm out here at Sela. It's an outstanding, tranquil, really beautiful community out here in Goldsby, America. You can check them out at selaok.com. That's SELAH.OK.com. And if you're in the area, come on, stop by. I'm still here for about another half hour before I get on the road down to Ennis, Texas. I got Grayson Harris on tap tonight, the 3-star, or I should say 4-star wide receiver commit in the 2025 class for Oklahoma. Going to get to watch him, as well as 2026 offensive line offer Noah Best as well.
Well, if you want to catch high school action without leaving the comfort of your own home, I've got great news for you. It's week 1 Oklahoma high school football, and you can catch, 2, 4, 6, 8 games tonight on krefsports.tv. That's krefsports.tv. Southmore and Westmore, Edmond North and Edmond Santa Fe, Norman North and Norman, Deer Creek, Edmond Memorial. You've got Sand Springs and Bixby, Piedmont and El Reno, Mustang and Yukon, and Fayetteville and Broken Arrow. So a lot of rivalry games across the state here in week 1. You can catch those on krefsports.tv later on this evening. All right, we'll get back into OU recruiting, look more at this OU Houston game and more right here on the Ref.
Bleed.
Sooner fans, show your Sooner pride. Crafted for SEC competition. Every OU fan should own a piece of Sooner magic. Made in America, like it should be. Get your official on-field OU football today.
Hey, Sooner Nation, join me Mondays at 7:45 a.m. and Thursdays at 4:45 p.m. exclusively on the Ref. Download the KREF app to listen from anywhere.
Want to honor Toby's legacy at the same time? The Toby Keith Foundation is hosting the 6th annual Fish Bowl at Lake Eufaula on September 7th and 8th. Fish Bowl offers a guaranteed $33,000 in payouts with all proceeds directly benefiting OK Kids Corral. For event details and registration, go to TobyKeithFoundation.org. As little as $100 per day gets you in the event with a chance to take home a great payout. Also, check out our electric golf cart raffle. Tell all your friends and make it the largest Fish Bowl ever.
Hey y'all, I'm Blake Shelton. Being from Oklahoma, I know a thing or two about natural disasters. Tornadoes are common where I'm from and have affected my life and the lives of people I care about. No matter where you live, be aware of the dangers in your area and have a plan. You can create an emergency kit, come up with an evacuation plan, and know where to seek shelter. You never know when a disaster may hit. These simple steps can help save a life. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
The Sooners are joining the SEC with a redesigned, handcrafted, and customized Nike Vapor Elite exclusively from Big Game Football Factory Football to commemorate their inaugural SEC season. To connect to the game you love on a deeper level, to get truly game day ready, you need the best quality football designed by and for your Sooners. How do you own the only official on-field Sooner football? Go to BigGameUSA.com/KREF and get your piece of Sooner history today.
How do you give hope to a child in the foster care system? It starts with your heart. That tug you feel on yours when you hear that children are waiting for a stable, loving voice to speak up for their best interests. And then it becomes your time. What started out as a feeling that maybe you could make a difference becomes the difference. Change a child's story. There is a child waiting for a volunteer like you.
Contact South Central CASA at 405-360-5295.
I thought mixing bleach with my floor cleaner would take the stain out.
When my youngest ate the dog's medicine, that was a new one.
I was trying to protect my garden, but I accidentally sprayed myself with pesticide.
So I called 1-800-222-1222, the poison helpline.
A poison expert helped me figure out what to do next.
I was connected to someone who spoke Spanish.
They answered my questions.
It was free.
It was confidential.
It was real help in real time.
Keep the poison experts in your pocket. 1-800-222-1222.
Want the best tailgate in town? Cater for a large group or feed your team? The 12th Avenue Chick-fil-A in Norman can meet all of your needs. Sandwich trays, nugget trays, and drinks by the gallon, we do it all. Our catering orders include all your essentials to serve your winning team, and it's backed by popular demand, the Honey Pepper Pimento Sandwich, and be sure to try the new Banana Pudding Milkshake. Call the 12th Avenue Chick-fil-A in Norman at 405-310-3189 or visit us on the app.
Discover the path to sobriety, emotional well-being, and lasting positive change with the Virtue Center, a nonprofit serving Oklahoma since 1972. Specializing in addiction, gambling, and mental health-related services, we offer same-day walk-in screening appointments Monday through Friday and serve ages 12 and up, as well as individual clients or families. Give us a call at 405-321-0022 or visit thevirtuecenter.org to learn more.
Locked in with McComas and Thune on this OEC Football Friday. Dorsey Jones Buick GMC in El Reno bringing this hour of Locked In. Dorsey Jones is family-owned and operated, established in 2020, but many of their employees have been there for more than 20 years. They pride themselves on having the best service technicians and friendly service advisors that put your needs first. They also have half-price oil changes on Saturdays. Go check them out in El Reno. Dorsey Jones Buick GMC. And for those of you watching live on the YouTube stream, KREF Sports, go subscribe to us there if you haven't already. The official game day football of the Sooners. I've got it here. BigGameUSA.com is where you can get yours. That's BigGameUSA.com. Okay, Teddy and I had a conversation yesterday because, we've been talking about the good this week, but you had to point out the offensive line and the third down inefficiencies, but there's a lot to like about this football team, even after just one game. But the question that we really got into is like a fill in the blank. This team is best at blank. And the answer that I think we both came up with, turning the football over, taking the football away, which is something that you really like to be good at. And if that can be the best thing that you do as a football team, you're probably going to be in a really good spot. Not that, really any of us believe that they're going to take the ball away 6 times per game. But if you were to ask me today, what's this team best at more than anything, I would probably say that, taking the football away.
Yeah, and, that's based on the sample size that we do have, that is the correct answer. Here's maybe a better question, or I shouldn't say better, but let me riff off your question with another question. What would you like this team to be best at?
Running the football.
Yeah?
I mean, it doesn't really matter what league you're in or what your personnel is or what the strength of your offense is. I mean, that's just something that always travels and always wins games, doesn't it? Like, we've changed this sport so much over the years. The rules have changed. Everything has changed. But the one thing – not the one thing, but one of the things that really stands the test of time in this sport is being able to run the football and being able to run the football consistently. I mean, look at Michigan last year. I mean, they had a really good defense, but they won a national championship by just running it at teams every single week last year. So it would still probably be that for me.
Yeah, and that's fair. So what you're saying is you want to see the Taylor Tatum Renaissance season.
Correct, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I want, and conversely, again, kind of akin to your point, but from a different angle, I want this team to be best at stopping the run. I want to see the defensive front seven. Yeah, because, well, as you said, like you can run the ball effectively. That's going to travel. That's going to win you football games. If the opponent struggles to run the ball effectively, well, then you make them one-dimensional. And if you can win the battle at the line of scrimmage in the SEC and you can make the opposing offense one-dimensional and force them to throw to be able to generate any sort of consistent, sustained drive, well, then you're going to win a lot of football games if you just completely eliminate the opposition's ability to move the ball on the ground. So, yeah, no, I think we're kind of thinking along the same plane there, but that's what's going to be crucial for Oklahoma in year one in the SEC, among other things, is the ability to establish the run and prevent the opponent from establishing the run. That's where a lot of it starts.
Tyler and Parker, big trench play guys over here. That's what we're all about. All about the trench play. Skill position players, like that's fine and all, but if you want to come talking ball to us, let's start with the trenches. We start inside out talking about
the big uglies, baby.
Team. Yeah. I like this one from Cherokee Sooner. This team is best at giving the fans something to complain about after a 48-point win. It's true. It's very true. That's why SEC Shorts was right on the money this week with their representation of Oklahoma this week. It's very, very, very accurate. Tyler from Kellyville says, unfortunately, I'm a victim of DirecTV. Any idea how I can watch the game tomorrow? I really don't want to spend $75 on YouTube TV. Tyler from Kellyville, as someone who's had YouTube TV for about 3-4 years now, I would highly endorse YouTube TV, but if you don't want to spend $75, I don't know what the site is or what the name is, but I do know that there's sites out there that you can illegally pirate football games on TV. If you'd like to go to the dark corners of the web and find those, then they're probably published somewhere. You think that's on a thread on OUinsider.com somewhere?
Oh God, no, it's absolutely not. Do so at your own risk. We are not like if you end up in a class action lawsuit because you were pirating digital media from some third party site, I do not want to be named as an accessory to your cyber crimes. So do this at your own peril and make note of the fact that we do not endorse it.
Nick in Sepulpa says Meth Streams is the name of that site. You think Meth Streams is the official provider of Missouri football, Missouri athletics? I bet they are. I bet it is. Catch all Missouri games on the Meth Stream there. Puerto Rican Sooner says YouTube TV is the only way to go, man. Stop being an old. Just get with the times. YouTube TV is awesome, man. I'd have never really had any issues with it. I'm a big fan. It's got everything I need as a sports fan. They're not paying me to say that. And I guess they could mail us a check for the live mention there and the endorsement. But if I'm
make
rolling
enough
with
money.
anything, yeah, seriously, they could afford KREF to send us $2,000 a month to talk about them. Come on, let's get a business deal or something. Jeez.
Yeah, we can pit them against one another because we have Hulu live TV. So whoever wants to send us more money, that's who we'll promote to this fan base.
I'm down for that. Down for that. How did Malik Hawkins look last night?
Man, he looked good. He looked really, really good. He had an interception. It was wiped away due to a penalty on the other side of the field. He had a touchdown on a blocked punt return. He picked up a blocked punt, returned it 13 yards for a touchdown. That punt was blocked by a teammate of his who is quickly becoming of interest to the Oklahoma staff. That would be 2025 linebacker Agape Lawrence.
Talked about him earlier this week, right?
Yes, indeed we did. Now, for those that didn't hear that initial conversation, Lawrence was an all-state selection last year. He's a two-time district defensive MVP. He's both a sophomore and a junior. He had 170 total tackles last year as a junior, 102 of which were solo tackles. And through 2 games in his senior year, he's already got 32 tackles. So, if nothing else, the kid just flies to the ball. Zach Alley has ramped up contact with him in recent weeks. They invited him to the game tomorrow. I do think that if Oklahoma extends an opportunity to him, it would be a PWO as opposed to a scholarship offer, just because I think at this point, with him not having any other scholarship offers, and I have no idea how G5 schools haven't jumped all over this kid yet, but right now, you don't really need to offer that kid a scholarship to be able to stand a chance of landing his commitment. If there are other schools that get involved, and there are some G5s and even some P4s that are keeping an eye on him, but until other schools get actively involved, at least on a heavier basis, you can probably get away with tossing the kid a PWO, and at that point, you got a pretty good shot of being able to add him to your roster in 2025 and beyond. I've watched him a lot the last couple of years because, obviously I've watched the Hawkins boys a lot over the last couple of years. The kid is everywhere, and he hits hard. He does not have prototypical size. He's probably about 5'10", so he's a little bit diminutive for a linebacker. But we have seen undersized linebackers have great success in the collegiate game in the past. It's not all about stature at that position. It's about having the ability to flow to the ball, to cover effectively, to come down and be an enforcer in run support. And he does all of the things that you would ask of an inside linebacker at the collegiate level, and he does all of those things quite well.
If an OU fan had never seen Malik Hawkins play before, but remembers his dad playing at OU or knows about Michael Hawkins, his brother, who's currently on campus, I'm going to guess most fans would probably think, well, Dad was supremely athletic. Michael Hawkins, the first thing that you probably notice about him as a quarterback is how athletic he is, though maybe he just doesn't get enough credit just yet with the arm talent that Michael Hawkins has. But Malik Hawkins, you would think immediately, well, if this kid has nothing else, he has extreme athleticism. He is a corner, 6 foot 180, and I think that that's fair. I mean, athleticism runs in the Hawkins family, and I don't think that skipped over Malik.
No, it certainly hasn't. He's fast. He's agile. He's got good size for a corner, like prototypical size for a modern corner, about 6'1", 185 pounds. But I think what gets me most excited about him, Tyler, is that you look at the other 2 cornerbacks in Oklahoma's 2025 class, and Tristan Haynes and Cortland Guillory, and they're good corners, but that's what they are. They're corners, right? You can kind of shoehorn them into that spot and expect, okay, they're going to be playing outside corner at OU, and that's the sum and substance of it. But Malik Hawkins offers a lot more versatility. Yes, he can play outside corner, but he could also play safety. He himself has stated that he's real intrigued by the possibility of playing the cheetah position at the next level. That's something Oklahoma is interested in exploring with his skill set as well. So, especially if you're looking at members of the 2025 class that could find their way onto the field early at Oklahoma, it's a guy like that you look at where it might not only take an injury or a sluggish performance in fall camp from a starter at one specific position. in order for him to see the field. It may just be a byproduct of his ability to fit in at multiple spots and excel at multiple spots.
Malik Hawkins is actually a good segue to what I wanted to bring up. Speaking of younger brothers who have an older brother on the team, and it sounds like maybe Eli Bowen is available this week to play, wasn't available a week ago. Yeah, man, I don't expect to see him run out there with the starters or anything, but if this game goes the way that I think it's going to go, that probably means that we see Eli Bowen at some point. And, yeah, dude, I'm excited to see Eli Bowen in an OU uniform for the first time after everything that we heard throughout training camp. If he's out there, I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. And I think there should be many younger members of that secondary that get the chance to play if this game goes as we expect it to go. I mentioned it earlier in the week, but I believe you'll see more of Michael Boganowski. I think it took him until the fourth quarter to get in the game defensively for Oklahoma against Temple. I think you will see him long before the fourth quarter this week. But Eli Bowen, and I mentioned this earlier in the week as well. Luke Elzinga shouted him out for his play on special teams. So I think the reason why there's so much excitement about so many of these young pieces in the back end of the Oklahoma secondary is because, man, they're not just cover guys. They can contribute in so many facets. And Eli Bowen certainly fits the bill in that capacity as a guy that, much akin to his older brother, is not just going to play one position and is not even strictly going to contribute on defense. He's going to be a very valuable special teams weapon as well, and you should be able to see some glimpses of that tomorrow.
It's just really kind of – it's silly, the talent that they have at safety right now. Some of that talent is already proven. Some of that talent could win the Thorpe Award this year. Some of that talent is very young but has high ceilings. And, we go from a situation 4 years ago where the safeties that are out there, you're just praying that they're not getting burnt down the field consistently. Now you've got safeties that are really good when it goes to covering down the field, really anywhere on the field. And you've got guys that can come up and lay a big hit as well. Like Boganowski, it's so fun to watch him, and you're kind of like laughing the entire time because you know he's going to roll up and just absolutely stick somebody. But even with the talent that you have at safety, and this kind of speaks to how good of a player he is, he's already so good as a freshman that even though you have a lot of talent in front of him, the way that he plays and the physicality that he has, you still say, I know we got studs in front of him, but a guy like that, we need to figure out ways to get him on the field more. That's kind of the situation that he's put himself in as a true freshman. Boganowski is that good, man.
Yeah, well, and again, you want to talk versatility. He can play safety. He can play that free safety spot. He can slide down to Cheetah. If you needed him to be a linebacker, keep in mind, every other school that recruited the kid recruited him as a linebacker. So, especially if he keeps up that head-hunting proclivity early in the season and he flies to the ball with the same vigor that we saw on Friday night against Temple, this is a guy that, because of the versatility that he boasts, is going to find a way onto the field some way, somehow. We know how Brent Venables operates. If you can play, he will find a way to get you in the mix. And it doesn't matter if you have Peyton Bowen and Billy Bowman solidly entrenched as your top two options at safety. If Michael Boganowski can prove that he deserves to be on the field, doesn't much matter how it happens. The Sooners will find a way to get him on the field more.
Speaking of safety, one of your bold takes this season, this is game 2. It hasn't happened yet. This is game 2. Don't let the lights turn out at Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium, and you only have one game left for that Peyton Bowen takes a punt back prediction.
Oh, yeah, that's right. 2 weeks. T-minus 2 weeks for that to hit. Come on, Peyton. I'm counting on you, homie.
I think he's going to have opportunities to return punts tomorrow night. That's
you would think
sure.
so. Well, he didn't really get. He got to return 2, maybe 3 punts against Temple because the Sooner defense was forcing so many turnovers that Temple never really punted.
It's true.
They would just fumble.
405-651-3439, Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, and also live on YouTube, KREF Sports. I got my Van Hoos Fence polo on once again today. Check them out, vhfence.com. We'll talk more OU Houston and OU recruiting next, right here on the Ref.
Nobody talk. Sooner fans, show your Sooner pride. crafted for SEC competition. Every OU fan should own a piece of Sooner Magic. Made in America, like it should be. Get your official on-field OU football today.
Hey, Sooner Nation, join me Mondays at 7:45 a.m. and Thursdays at 4:45 p.m. exclusively on the Ref. Download the KREF app to listen from anywhere.
Difference. If you are tired of hidden fees and impersonal service at your big bank, well, you deserve better, and that's what you'll find at OU Federal Credit Union. They offer competitive rates on loans and savings accounts. Plus, they're a local member-owned institution. Join OU Federal Credit Union today and discover the benefits of being a part of a community that cares. Visit OUFCU.com or stop by the branches today. Member savings insured up to $250,000 by NCUA.
Hey drivers, it's Ryan Blaney, your 2023 NASCAR Cup Series champion and driver of the number 12 Discount Tire Ford Mustang. Do you know one of the most important things that helps keep my car going on the track? Tire pressure. Keeping your tires properly inflated is crucial for safe stopping power and better gas mileage. Check your tire pressure at least once a month or stop by a local tire retailer for an air check.
A message from the U.S. Tire Manufacturers Association.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hey Sooner fans, this is Olivia Troutman, 4-time NCAA champion with the Oklahoma gymnastics team. Season tickets are now available featuring an exciting SEC schedule. Go to Soonersports.com to get your tickets. And don't forget to become a member of Team 10 to support OU women's gymnastics and receive unique experiences and special access to the team. Team 10 supports our team above and beyond anything I could have ever dreamed. Go to Soonersports.com to get your season tickets and become a member of Team 10 today. Boomer!
This is Mark Van Hoos, owner of Van Hoos Fence. Van Hoos Fence has years of experience and proven superior performance, kind of like a certain head ball coach.
We know Van Hoos Fence offers the best value and service for your residential, commercial, or sports fencing needs. Whether it's a new install or repair work, let Mark and his team at Van Hoos Fence be your trusted resource.
Call us today at 405-735-1167.
Save yourself from Googling it up. Go to vhfence.com. They will work with you in a great way.
Matthew.
Huh? Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I just need you to listen to me.
I know that a lot of times, Mom, it might not seem like I'm listening to you, but I am. I hear you. And what you say really does matter to me.
I mean, let's be honest. No kid likes rules, but I get why we have them. I hear you, and I know it's because you care.
For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
My son Ian was diagnosed with a brain tumor at the age of 16 months. We had no hope until St. Jude rescued us. He's alive because of what St. Jude has done. He's here because of the doctors who came before, their blood, their sweat, their tears, the knowledge accumulated and shared, with everyone else around the world. This is how we help kids beat cancer all over.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Final segment, locked in with McComas and Thune, live on the Ref. We are the home of Sooner fans. Another reminder that KREFsports.tv, several games tonight for week 1 of Oklahoma high school football. A lot of rivalry games across the state. Southmore and Westmore, Edmond North and Edmond Santa Fe, crosstown clash of Norman North and Norman, Mustang and Yukon. You also have Piedmont El Reno, Deer Creek, Edmond Memorial, Fayetteville and Broken Arrow, Sand Springs, and Bixby. Catch all of the games, all of the action, all season long on KREFsports.tv. Maybe the answer is pretty simple here. Texas going to Ann Arbor to play Michigan. Text line, interact with this as well. But what's the national game that most interests you tomorrow on the slate? Is it Texas and Michigan? Nebraska, Colorado? Which one out of all the games?
That one from the equation, because if we're going to remove Michigan, Texas from the equation, my answer is, and you know what, my answer might still be overall that Nebraska-Colorado game. And maybe that's the Nebraskan in me that grew up watching a lot of those football games between the Huskers and Buffaloes. But as we know, there are recruiting implications there for Oklahoma with Christian Jones and his process kind of hanging in the balance. So I don't know, man. Are you rooting for the Huskers, or are you rooting for Colorado if you're an OU fan? I know there are a lot of OU fans that dislike Coach Prime. I know there are a lot of people in general that dislike Coach Prime and the and I shouldn't even say borderline. There's an air of arrogance about the way that he conducts himself and runs his program, and that's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. But if you're an Oklahoma fan that wants to add Christian Jones to the 2025 recruiting class, well, you would like for Colorado to be able to go to Lincoln and pull out a hard-fought road victory. That's such an interesting game to me, too, because I know – I shouldn't say I know, but I have a very good idea of just how electric that environment is going to be up at Memorial Stadium. And so I would figure that that's going to be an absolutely raucous crowd. It's going to be a nightmare for Colorado to try and play in. But then the question becomes, does Nebraska have the firepower to be able to hang with the Buffaloes for 4 quarters? Because that offense looked good with Dylan Raiola at the helm last week against UTEP, but it's UTEP. Is this truly a different Nebraska football team, or is it the same fool's gold that we've seen here and there and everywhere for Nebraska for a decade?
And how many times have we thought that, right? Like, oh, it's a big game. It's a big game in Lincoln. Here's Nebraska's chance to really break through and get some momentum. And they've just consistently lost this game now for a decade plus. But here they are again. Like, normally in one of those games, like, here's Nebraska's opportunity. They're an underdog or maybe just barely a slight favorite. Like, Parker, they should win this. They're an 8-point favorite in this game. Everyone expects them to win this game against Colorado. Therefore, I think there's a lot of pressure on Nebraska tomorrow. I do think that they're the better team overall, top to bottom, and I do think that they're going to win a close football game, but it would not be the first time recently where Nebraska's had a big opportunity and just absolutely, just doesn't take advantage of it and let a great opportunity just pass them by.
Well, and here's the key to me. Like, the key matchup in that football game is going to be those Colorado wide receivers versus the Nebraska secondary, because I would say the secondary is easily Nebraska's most vulnerable position group on either side of the ball. And Colorado, if nothing else, they've got Shadur Sanders. You say what you will about Shadur Sanders. He's a pretty dang good quarterback. There is talent there. There is plenty of talent there. And he's got some very electric wide receivers at his disposal. LaJohntay Wester, Jimmy Horn Jr., Travis Hunter, obviously. So if Colorado can land a couple deep shots on that Nebraska secondary in the early stages, really put the onus on Dylan Raiola to fight fire with fire, and they don't give Nebraska the capacity to play from ahead, play with a lead, if Nebraska's got to play catch-up, if they're playing from a hole all night long, well, then at that point you start to favor Colorado.
One-star Eric the Mets fan says, Iowa State and Iowa, I need nap time. The national game he's most interested in. Evan from Blanchard says, Cy-Hawk game. That way, no matter what, it'll make OU's offense look like a world beater. Could be heading to a 10-7, 13-10 football game there at Iowa State tomorrow. I like this submission from one-star Stillwater Sooner, getting a little creative here on national game that most interests you, and I definitely had this as a under-the-radar game. Oregon did not look great in week 1 against Idaho. They were in a football game late in the fourth quarter. Do I think that they'll bounce back tomorrow in Eugene and win and maybe even cover? Yeah, I do. But a much better team than Idaho is coming in. Another Idaho team, Boise State, is coming in tomorrow. Some people think that they could really push for one of those 12-team playoff spots. Oregon's going to have to be a lot better than what they were last week, or Boise State's good enough to come in there and beat them. That game last week, though, was just so odd because you look up in the fourth quarter and say, how is Oregon in this game, and how are Dylan Gabriel's stats actually pretty good? How is this? How are those two things married up?
Yeah, well, and to me, I think there's a little bit of a misconception there because, yes, Oregon very obviously needs to get better. They did not play a perfect game last week against Idaho. The game was far from perfect, but I also think when a major, national title type contender plays a closer than expected game against a team like Idaho, the automatic assumption from anybody, whether they watched the game or didn't watch the game, everybody's immediate takeaway is, oh, Oregon isn't as good as we thought they were. And very rarely, far less frequently, will you see folks give it up to the opponent, in this case Idaho, for playing a really good football game that is well beyond the capacity of what they reasonably should be able to give to a team like Oregon as far as a fight for 60 minutes is concerned. So I commend Jason Eck and that Idaho team for coming to Eugene last weekend and taking nothing for granted and playing 60 minutes of really, really resilient football. They didn't have the horses in the end to be able to pull off the upset. But to me, the primary reason that game was so close was not because Oregon left that much meat on the bone. It was really just because Idaho played a much better football game than you would have expected Idaho to be able to play.
Yeah, but I mean, I understand, but to be in a 4-quarter game, it's like a 3-point game late against Idaho. And then, reading earlier this week, Idaho lost 5 of its best players from last year's team to the transfer portal. Like, there was a thought that, well, if Idaho doesn't lose its best players to the transfer portal, do they win that game? Or are we talking about one of the biggest upsets that we've had in college football in a while? Maybe. But I tend to think that Oregon's still a very good team and still a team that's very much going to really push for a Big Ten title this year. I think that they're good. It was just did not expect them to be in a close game late against the Idaho Vandals. I like this pick by Puerto Rican Sooner, and they're on the schedule. It's Nico's first test. Tennessee and NC State, I think, is a very interesting game. I actually expect the Vols to win that game. And I expect them to win by double digits, and the betting line has really shot up from, what it was a few days ago. But I think Tennessee and NC State's going to hit on some Tennessee's going to hit on some big plays, I should say, against NC State. Give me the Vols in that one by 2 touchdowns. But am interested to see what Nico looks like against a better defense this week.
You got another Hollywood Smothers touchdown on your parlay for the weekend?
I'll give him a 2-yard rushing touchdown, but he does not rush for over 70 yards in the game. How about that?
Okay. I'll allow it.
But you like Tennessee as well, big in that one? Or you think
it's hard not to like Tennessee. Yeah, it's hard not to like Tennessee because, again, kind of a similar phenomenon with North Carolina State and Western Carolina in that game last week. Western Carolina came in and played a really good football game and gave NC State all they could handle. In the end, the Wolfpack got it done, but Western Carolina played a really good football game for 3 quarters, then things kind of fell apart late. So I don't know that NC State is as bad as you would look at that score and immediately seem to believe, but I do think Tennessee is the superior football team, and I do think they win that game comfortably.
Least surprising thing going into the weekend, DJ Lagway is going to start for Florida. You don't say, huh?
Yeah. Well, and that was inevitable, and I understand Graham Mertz is in the concussion protocol, so there's a legitimate reason why DJ Lagway is starting. It's not just, Graham Mertz is getting benched. But it was inevitable. DJ Lagway was going to make a start at some point this year for Florida, whether it was before or after the firing of Billy Napier. And from the latest I've heard, talking to a few folks down that way, Tyler, I feel very confident that unless there's some situation that just comes completely out of left field that none of us expect at another school, I feel pretty confident that Billy Napier is going to be the first Power 4 head coach that gets canned here in 2024.
I don't think he makes it to November.
He may not make it. Well, forget November. He may not make it to October.
Maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. I'd be shocked. I mean, shocked if he makes it to the end of the season. And right now, I'd be very shocked if he even makes it to the month of November. Speaking of college football in the state of Florida, there's desperations, there's desperate times, and then there's this. There is a message on a Florida State message board, and it has been captured by message board geniuses. There is a Florida State fan out there that says, you know what? We need a new head coach. And who I want as our next head coach, let's go ahead and bring him back. Let's run it back. Let's bring Jimbo Fisher back to Tallahassee. Now, I say that's desperate. I mean, he did bring their most recent national championship to Tallahassee. He had some good years at FSU. It didn't end up all that great before he left for Texas A&M. But there is at least a small section of the Florida State fan base as of right now, at least one person that wants Jimbo back at FSU. And, buddy, just for the entertainment aspect, I would be here for it.
I think it's ridiculous. And that just goes to show you that regardless of what you've done for me lately, as it were, you lose a football game, you lose 2 football games, and there's always going to be somebody that's calling for your head. Because Mike Norvell had Florida State sitting at 13-0, and with very legitimate reason to be upset that they were spurned by the College Football Playoff Committee last December. Now you lose 2 straight to open the 2024 campaign, and the narrative has completely flipped, and now people are talking about we should move on from Mike Norvell and bring back Jimbo Fish. Really? Really?
Two games in. We're not even to week 2 yet. The Saturday slate for week 2, and that's already out there. All right, real quick before we get out of here, you've got some visitors in this weekend. Of course, Boobie Feaster, Elite 2027 prospect. But what is the biggest storyline for the visitors in this weekend? Is it just that? Can Emmett Jones, Boobie Feaster, can he move up where OU's at right now, or is it someone else maybe in 2026 is the biggest storyline?
Well, I'm going to go see Noah Best tonight, 4-star offensive guard in the 2026 class. He plans to be in Norman this weekend. So that's already a kid that I have future casted to Oklahoma. I feel good about the Sooners' chances to land him. I'm going to be interested to see just how close he is to pulling the trigger on a commitment to Oklahoma after the game day experience tomorrow. I get the feeling that could maybe be the Owen Hollenbeck of this class, i.e. the offensive line piece that you get committed long, long before the rest.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be bad if you had another player like that. 2025 class in very good shape in the top 8 according to Rivals, and 2026 already off to a good start as well. Adding Noah Best would be a really good piece to add. All right, 3 hours of college football. We'll preview OU and Houston coming up for the next 3 hours. It's The Rush right here on the Ref. We're the home of Sooner fans.
Sooner fans, show your Sooner pride. Crafted for SEC competition. Every OU fan should own a piece of Sooner magic. Made in America, like it should be. Get your official on-field OU football today.
Hey Sooner Nation, join me Mondays at 7:45 a.m. and Thursdays at 4:45 p.m. exclusively on the Ref. Download the KREF app to listen from anywhere.